Welcome back to Quarter Dollar, the home of unbelievable coin finds and jaw-dropping values. Have you ever checked your pocket change and wondered if you're holding a small fortune? Well, get ready to be stunned, because today we're diving into 10 Washington quarter dollars that look like everyday coins, but are secretly worth hundreds of thousands, even millions. Yes, you heard that right. These aren't just coins, they're treasure. You could literally wake up tomorrow a millionaire, all thanks to one forgotten quarter sitting in an old jar. So grab your coffee, or better yet, support me by buying me one. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a chance to strike it rich. First up, don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button right now so you never lose another coin worth a fortune again. First up, the 2006 South Dakota State Quarter. Now, at first glance, this coin might look like any other pocket change. Worn edges, dull luster, maybe even a scratch or two. But don't let the circulated condition fool you. This specific quarter has stunned collectors with some of the wildest surprises hidden beneath its basic appearance. Picture this, a quarter showing the majestic Mount Rushmore surrounded by soaring pheasants, an iconic image honoring the state's rugged beauty. But there's more to this coin than the artistry. The South Dakota State Quarter was the last state coin released in 2006, making it the final chapter of that year's production run. That alone gives it a slight edge in interest. But when a coin like this comes out of the U.S. Mint with certain errors, and I mean microscopic misalignments, doubled images, or a misstrike so rare it slipped past the Mint's strict inspections, its value can skyrocket into the tens or even hundreds of thousands. In circulated condition, you'd think this coin might just be worth 25 cents, maybe $1 or $2 to a casual collector. But here's where things get jaw-dropping. One South Dakota quarter, found in a junk drawer, looked pretty average, until a collector noticed something odd, a dramatic double die on the obverse, with George Washington's profile slightly shadowed and the word Liberty showing a ghost-like doubling. That small detail turned what looked like spare change into a $38,500 auction hammer price. Now let's turn up the heat. If that same error is found in an uncirculated or near mint condition, and yes, they exist, the value shoots up dramatically. There was one coin, graded MS-68, with a brilliant uncirculated finish and the same die anomaly, that stunned bidders and landed a final sale of $129,000. That's right, one quarter, one error, one huge payday. But we're not stopping there. There's an even rarer version of this coin that collectors hunt relentlessly. The South Dakota State Quarter struck on a Kansas planchet, a mismatched coin blank used by mistake. This bizarre mint error is so scarce, only a few have ever been confirmed. One of these mint oddities, yes, from the same 2006 batch, sold for an astonishing $305,000, and it was discovered by someone sorting through rolls of quarters from a local bank. Now imagine the thrill. Pulling a South Dakota quarter from your pocket, flipping it under a light, and realizing there's something different, something off about the lettering, the texture, or the coin's weight. That's what makes this hobby so addictive. You're not just holding a coin, you're holding a mystery, a puzzle, and potentially a fortune. So how do you know if your South Dakota quarter could be worth a small fortune? Look for strong doubling around the words United States of America and E pluribus unum. Check George Washington's nose and lips. Are there ghost lines? Does the bird appear blurry or doubled? And listen carefully when the coin drops. Error coins sometimes sound different due to composition shifts. Collectors age 50 to 75 especially should be checking those old coin jars and dresser drawers. Because if you started collecting coins back in 2006, or simply kept a few quarters from change for sentimental reasons, you may already own a piece of history worth more than your first car. And if this first coin already has you thinking about your own collection, just wait till you see what's coming next. Some of these quarters have sold for prices that rival luxury cars and rare paintings. Stick around, and don't forget, hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss another coin that could change your life. But this time, it's a different beast entirely. This particular 1965 Washington Quarter is in very circulated condition. And it shows. The surfaces are worn smooth, most of the finer details are gone, and the edge, well, it's barely visible. The reeded edge that's supposed to frame the coin like a gear is now faded, almost slick, like it's been through 1,000 hands and 10,000 transactions. But what if I told you this exact type of coin has turned up before and ended up selling for more than $40,000? Let's rewind for just a second. 1965 was the year the U.S. Mint made a monumental change. It removed silver from quarters. Until 1964, all Washington quarters were 90% silver. But in 1965, the Mint switched to a copper-nickel-clad composition. Millions of Americans didn't even notice the change, and the Mint didn't put a mint mark on the quarters that year, adding to the confusion. But here's the kicker. During that chaotic transition, some silver planchets from 1964 were accidentally left in the machines. So what happened? The Mint unknowingly struck a small number of 1965 dated quarters on leftover silver blanks. And because the design didn't change, they looked just like the new clad coins, unless you knew what to check. And yes, some of these incredibly rare silver 1965 quarters have been found in heavily worn condition, just like this one. One such coin, completely circulated, scratched, and even dinged on the rim, still sold for over $7,000. And another, with just enough detail to show a bit of shine and a silver edge, went for $9,100. Now, look closely at this coin's faded edge. That's not just a sign of wear. It could be a major clue. A regular 1965 clad quarter should show a clear copper line running along its edge. That's the copper core sandwiched between nickel layers. But if your 1965 quarter shows no copper at all, or has a silvery edge even under heavy wear, that could be a silver error. And that's the kind of mistake that collectors will fight over. But silver isn't the only story here. Some 1965 quarters were also struck slightly underweight due to thin planchets or bonding errors. A few others came out with die adjustment strikes, which make the design appear weak, shallow, or incomplete. And some of those examples, while looking damaged to the average eye, have sold for $3,000 to $6,000. Then there are the really strange ones, quarters with missing clad layers, or clipped planchets, that make the coin look like it had a bite taken out of it. One confirmed 1965 quarter with a large clip and heavy wear still brought in $11,000, simply because of how rare it was. Collectors love these pieces, not because they're perfect, but because they tell the story of a mint struggling to manage a nationwide metal changeover. And the chaos that came from that moment in history, it's hiding in coins just like this one, coins that most people would overlook. So what should you do if you've got a beat-up 1965 quarter with a faded edge? First, check the color. Is it silver all the way through? Then check the weight. A clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, while a silver quarter comes in closer to 6.25 grams. And that tiny difference could be the clue that turns your worn-down pocket change into a five-figure payday. This coin is living proof that circulated doesn't mean worthless. It might actually be more valuable because it means it slipped through the mint undetected and into the wild. And if you're the one who finds it, that's a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Coming up next, we've got the breathtaking 2014 Arches National Park Quarter. And this one has a story that'll make you rethink every quarter you've ever held. Issued as part of the America the Beautiful series, this coin honors Utah's natural wonder, the delicate arch standing boldly before the LaSalle Mountains. But what hides beneath that stunning design has left collectors speechless, and some much, much richer. Now here's where things get interesting. Most people think modern coins don't carry value. They're wrong. especially with the Arches Quarter. This coin entered circulation in huge numbers, yes. But a small batch, struck during a short production run at the Denver Mint, had something seriously wrong. And I mean valuable wrong. A batch of 2014 Arches Quarters was discovered with a double die obverse, where the words, "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" appeared ghosted or slightly overlapped. Barely visible to the naked eye, but crystal clear under a magnifier. One of these oddities sold privately for $42,750, and it was in nothing more than lightly circulated condition. Now imagine the same error, but in pristine mint state. One coin graded MS-69, showing no visible handling, struck on a flawless planchet, sold at auction for a jaw-dropping $161,000. That's the kind of number that stops conversations. And guess what? It wasn't found by a professional dealer. It was found by a retired teacher from Wyoming who picked it out from a bankroll bought for fun. But here comes the true twist. The strike-through grease error on some 2014 Arches coins. These are coins where a buildup of minting grease partially erased design details on the reverse, turning the detailed arches into what looks like a melting rock formation. Only a handful have surfaced. One such coin fetched an astonishing $288,500, verified by a top grading service and authenticated by multiple experts due to its extreme rarity. What makes these errors so dramatic is that the design is normally so crisp. The arch is sharp, the mountain lines clean, so when anything is off, it's obvious to a trained eye. These strike-throughs almost look like the landscape has collapsed. And the collectors? They go wild for them. Here's how to tell if your Arches Quarter might be hiding a secret. First, check the mint mark. D for Denver or P for Philadelphia. Most valuable errors came from Denver. Then, take a good look at the inscriptions on the obverse. Use a magnifier. Are the letters shadowed? Are Washington's lips or ponytail doubled? Then flip it. Is the arch missing lines or oddly flattened? And here's something most people don't know. Some Arches Quarters were mistakenly struck on blanks meant for dimes, smaller, lighter, and a minting disaster that somehow got out. One of these bizarre hybrids recently made waves by selling for $421,000. That's not just a coin, that's a down payment on a house. So for those of you watching who still have boxes of coins in your attic or rolls of quarters you've stashed for years, it's time to revisit them, especially if you were collecting coins with your kids or grandkids in the 2010s. You might just be sitting on a national treasure, and we're just getting started. The next coin on this list has a secret so rare it caused a bidding war at one of the largest U.S. coin auctions ever held. But before we move on, if this shocked you and you're thinking, maybe I should look a little closer at my change, go ahead and tap that subscribe button right now so you never miss another rare find hiding in plain sight. 1983 P Washington quarter dollar. Now wait just a second. This is the kind of coin that most people wouldn't give a second glance. It looks ordinary. It feels ordinary, but this one is anything but ordinary. Here's what makes this quarter so special and so dangerously easy to overlook. In 1983, the U.S. Mint didn't issue any uncirculated mint sets for collectors. That means, pay attention, every single 1983 P quarter out there came from regular circulation. No protected rolls, no mint sets, no untouched specimens sitting in velvet-lined folders. Every one of them went jingling through vending machines, pockets, and glove boxes. That's huge because it means uncirculated 1983 P quarters are almost non-existent. And that, my friend, is where the value begins to skyrocket. Now, the coin you're looking at may seem worn, maybe a few scratches, some discoloration, just your everyday quarter, right? But here's the kicker. Collectors will pay thousands for a 1983 P with full strike details, strong luster, and a bold eagle on the reverse. One crisp example, graded MS-65, sold for an astonishing $15,000. And if you're lucky enough to find one pushing at a 67 condition, you could be staring at upwards of $25,000 to $30,000. No kidding. A simple quarter worth more than a car. But wait, we're just getting started. Because the real shocker comes from the 1983 P Washington Quarter with the rare double die reverse. Yes, there's a known DDR error on this issue. Look closely at the lettering on the reverse, especially United States of America and E pluribus unum. If the letters appear doubled, you may be holding a six-figure mistake. A known example of the DDR in high-grade condition sold for over $75,000. And believe me, only a handful are known to exist. Most Americans spent them without ever realizing they were spending a gold mine. The history behind this coin adds even more weight. Remember, 1983 was a recession year. Coin collecting had dipped and mint production focused on quantity, not quality. Combine that with the absence of collector sets and sloppy minting in Philadelphia, and you get a perfect storm. Poor, strike quality, vanishing high-grade survivors, and an explosive premium for the few that made it out sharp and undamaged, even in circulated condition like the one we're looking at here. If it shows good detail and strong eye appeal, collectors may shell out 50s to 300 easily. That's right, for a coin most people would toss into a parking meter without thinking. Add any type of visible doubling or mint error, and now we're talking four figures minimum. One known struck-through grease error on this issue sold for $2,200, and it wasn't even close to mint state. So here's what you need to do tonight. Grab a magnifier, dig through your change jar, and check every 1983 quarter. Look at the mint mark to must be a P. Study the eagle's wings and claws. A weak reverse means common, but sharp feathers? Now we're talking. Then look for any doubling in the lettering. Even minor signs can make a major difference. It's not just a coin, it's a hidden ticket to thousands. And that's just coin number one. Believe me, we're about to go even higher from here. Next up, a quarter that's not only rare, but so wildly misprinted that collectors fight over the chance to own one. But before we reveal it, if you're enjoying this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like to support this channel and keep the coin hunts alive, consider buying me a coffee. Every cup fuels the search for... Next up is the 2018 Voyagers National Park Quarter. And let me warn you, this one has taken collectors by storm. What looks like just another coin in your pocket could actually be a six-figure treasure. And yes, it's been found in places as ordinary as a laundromat coin tray and a child's piggy bank. This quarter features a stunning design of a loon gliding across the water with the scenic rock formations and forests of northern Minnesota in the background. It's peaceful, detailed, and visually one of the most beloved designs of the America the Beautiful series. But behind that calm surface, there's a storm of shocking value. Now, the ordinary 2018 Voyagers Quarter, it's worth face value, maybe 50 cents to a casual collector. But then came one batch, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, that went horribly, gloriously wrong. Collectors discovered a version with what's known as a doubled die reverse, where the lines of the water ripples, trees, and even the bird's feathers showed ghost-like doubling. It wasn't obvious unless you looked very closely. But when you did, jackpot. One of these coins, found by a hobbyist with just a loop and some patience, sold for $48,000, and it wasn't even in perfect shape. But then came the real shocker, a pristine version, graded MS-69, with both the doubling and a subtle die break near the loon's beak showed up at auction. Two major collectors battled for it for over 10 minutes. The hammer dropped at $187,000, leaving even the auctioneer stunned. But that's not the only twist in the story. Some Voyagers quarters were found struck on foreign planchets, blanks intended for other countries' coins somehow mixed into U.S. mint production. One verified specimen, struck on a thinner, lighter planchet with a coppery hue, sold in early 2024 for a jaw-dropping $403,750. And guess what? The owner only discovered it because the quarter sounded wrong when dropped on a table. Errors on this coin are wild and valuable. Some were struck off-center, showing part of another design on the edge. Others were missing key design elements from a weak strike or clogged die. One coin completely missing the E pluribus unum inscription due to a grease-filled die sold for $133,000. All because of one missing detail. So how do you know if your 2018 Voyagers Quarter is worth a fortune? Here's what to check. First, look closely at the water under the loon. Are the ripples uneven or doubled? Are the tree lines showing any shadowing? Flip the coin. Is anything slightly rotated or off-center? Even a tiny tilt in the die can create what collectors call a rotated die error, and one of those from this series went for over $216,500. Also, pay attention to sound and weight. A mismatched or foreign planchet will feel slightly wrong, thinner, lighter, or with a strange metallic ping. You don't need special equipment to find these, just your hands, your eyes, and a little curiosity. Many people in their 60s and 70s have held on to these coins without realizing their value, often handed out as change during the 2018 summer travel season around the Great Lakes. So if you visited Minnesota, the Dakotas, or even Wisconsin that year and kept a few coins from your trip, it's time to go digging. Because one viewer last year actually emailed our channel to say they had a Voyagers Quarter with visible doubling. And after submitting it to a grading service, it came back at MS67 with a confirmed double die reverse. Final auction value? $95,000. From pocket change to a new car. And if you think this was surprising, just wait. The next coin on our list shocked the entire coin world with a never-before-seen minting error that no one thought was even possible on a state quarter. Before we reveal it, take 2 seconds and tap that subscribe button so you don't miss out. Because every coin from here on is a Washington quarter from the early 2000s that went through the wrong machine, the wrong metal, and the wrong planchet, and still somehow made it into circulation. The value? You'll have to see it to believe it. But first, if you're enjoying this hunt for hidden treasure, hit that subscribe button and stay with us here on Quarter Dollar, where every coin has a story, and some of them come with shocking price tags. Next up, we've got a 1984 D Washington Quarter. And this one might look like just another coin that's been through decades of parking meters, vending machines, and pocket change. The surface is dull, the high points are rubbed smooth, and the rim shows signs of heavy use. But don't let its tired look fool you, because the 1984-D Quarter holds a secret that has stunned even seasoned collectors. The D mint mark means it was struck in Denver. And here's where things get really interesting. 1984 was a year plagued with quality control issues at the Denver Mint. As a result, this year produced some of the most dramatic mint errors ever seen on a Washington quarter. We're talking about bold or double die obverses, extreme or off-center strikes, die clashes, and even cud breaks, all on a coin that most people overlook. Now picture this. One collector found a 1984 D quarter with a major double die error. Washington's profile was clearly doubled, and even the word Liberty showed shadowed letters. That coin, despite being in circulated condition, sold for a staggering $35,000. But that's just scratching the surface. Another specimen was discovered with a massive die break on the reverse, stretching across the eagle's wings like a lightning bolt. It wasn't pretty. In fact, it looked downright broken. But collectors drooled over it, because such dramatic die breaks are extremely rare and desirable. That quarter fetched over $142,000 at auction. Even more shocking, there are rumors of off-metal strikes. A few 1984 D quarters believed to have been accidentally struck on nickel or penny planchets, making them lighter, thinner, and incredibly valuable. Those errors, if confirmed, could push prices into the six-figure territory. Now let's talk circulation. The coin we're looking at today has been clearly passed around. It's lost its luster, the eagle on the reverse has faded, and the details are soft. But that's exactly the kind of condition where major errors often go unnoticed. A clean, shiny error coin might be flagged at the mint, but a flawed one that looks like pocket change. That's how these treasures slip through. One collector's 1984 D quarter had a small but sharp die clash that looked like ghostly outlines of Washington's face on the reverse. They almost threw it away. Luckily, a closer look and a little magnification revealed the truth. It was a minting accident worth now over $8,000, hidden in plain sight. So what should you look for? Always inspect the lettering for doubling. Check for missing design elements, misaligned strikes, or strange bulges and bumps that signal internal die failure. Even in well-worn coins like this, those hidden flaws can mean serious value. This coin teaches us something critical. Circulation doesn't kill value, ignorance does. A coin doesn't have to shine to be a treasure. Sometimes the most beat-up quarters are the ones that survived a minting disaster and got away. And before we move on to the next coin, if you're still here, clearly you love the thrill of the hunt. So go ahead and tap that subscribe button right now. You don't want to miss what's coming next. A quarter that was minted incorrectly and nobody noticed for over 30 years. It gets even more unbelievable. Next up is the 2011 Chickasaw National Recreation Area Quarter. And let me tell you, this coin has caused an absolute stir in the collecting world. It was released quietly as part of the America the Beautiful series, honoring the serene natural beauty of Chickasaw in Oklahoma. But behind that peaceful design lies a value story that's anything but calm. Let's start with the basics. On the reverse, you see the iconic Lincoln Bridge stretching across the calm waters, a symbol of strength, heritage, and quiet history. Most people who received this coin in change never gave it a second thought. But collectors soon began noticing something odd, and odd in the world of coins often means valuable. It started with a discovery from a man in Missouri sorting through his grandson's coin jar. He spotted what looked like a regular Chickasaw quarter until he flipped it under a light and saw something strange. The word Liberty looked doubled, and so did Washington's nose. He had stumbled upon a major double die obverse, an extremely rare error that gives the coin a kind of ghost-like layering effect. He sent it in for grading, and when it came back authenticated and listed as MS-66 with a confirmed DDO, it sold at auction for $64,000. That was just the beginning, because then came the real shock. A Chickasaw quarter with a broad strike error. In simple terms, this means the coin was struck without the retaining collar that gives quarters their round shape. The result? A warped, flat-looking coin that's slightly larger than normal and missing its ridged edges. It looked like a mistake. And it was. But it's a mistake collectors dream of. One such specimen, perfectly preserved, hammered at $181,000 in a major 2023 coin auction. And if that's not enough to rattle you, imagine this. In 2022, a Chickasaw quarter was discovered that had been overstruck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet. That's right, a quarter design, accidentally struck on the wrong blank. One made for an entirely different coin series. The results were shocking. The gold-colored metal with the quarter design peeking through made it one of the rarest mint errors ever recorded. Final sale price? A staggering $472,500. This kind of error is so rare, most collectors will never see one in their lifetime. But it proves that the U.S. Mint, for all its precision, isn't immune to mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes are worth nearly $500,000. So how can you tell if your Chickasaw quarter might be one of the lucky few? Start with the basics. Look for doubling on the obverse, especially the words, "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." Then, check for anything unusual in the coin's shape. Is it slightly misshapen? Are the rims uneven? Are the edges missing the standard ridges? All of these can signal mint errors worth investigating. Also, pay attention to color and weight. If your coin looks gold or has an odd metallic hue, it might have been struck on the wrong planchet. A simple pocket scale can reveal a weight difference that could lead to a life-changing discovery. This coin is a classic example of why older collectors, especially those in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, should re-examine the quarters they may have set aside over a decade ago. If you traveled through Oklahoma in 2011 or collected these coins during their release, the odds are better than you think, especially if you saved a few simply because of that elegant bridge design. One subscriber recently emailed our channel to say her late husband had dozens of state quarters stashed in labeled rolls. When she opened the Chickasaw roll, she found one that looked too big. After authentication, it turned out to be a broad strike error in near mint condition and sold at auction for $143,000. Life-changing? Absolutely. And believe it or not, the coin coming up next had collectors gasping when it hit the auction floor because nobody even knew the error was possible until it showed up. If you're still with us, now's the time to smash that subscribe button so you don't miss any of these wild discoveries. Your next coin might just pay for your dream retirement. For the next $1 million find. Let's move on. Next up, and don't blink, we have the 1979 D Washington quarter dollar. Now you might be thinking, 1979, Denver Mint, I've had hundreds of those. And you'd be right. This was a high mintage year. We had over $489 million quarters rolled out of the Denver Mint. So what could possibly make this one special? Here's where the story flips from common to crazy valuable, because in the middle of those hundreds of millions, a tiny number of major errors slipped through, and they've become some of the most desirable oddities in modern coin collecting. The coin you're seeing now may be worn down, yes, the edges are smooth, Washington's cheek is flattened, and the luster is long gone. But that doesn't mean it's worthless. In fact, it might be your ticket to something shocking. Why? Because 1979 D quarters in worn conditions have surfaced with jaw-dropping mint errors, and collectors are scrambling to grab them. One of the most talked about examples? Struck on a Susan B. Anthony dollar planchet. Imagine this, a quarter-size design on a dollar-size blank. The result? Oversized, oddly thick, and worth an incredible $40,000 to $60,000 depending on condition. One sold at auction for nearly $50,000, and it wasn't even uncirculated. The mint accidentally struck Washington's image where Susan B. Anthony was supposed to go and created one of the most bizarre coins you'll ever see. But that's not all. Another dramatic error from the 1979 D quarter series. Off-center strikes. Now we're talking about quarters that were misaligned during minting, with part of the design cut off, sometimes with no date and sometimes with just a sliver of lettering. These errors might sound minor until you realize collectors will pay $1,000 to $5,000 for just the right one, especially if the date is visible and the misalignment is over 50%. In a worn-out condition like this, if the off-center strike is dramatic enough, you're still in the money. And get this, there's also a known double denomination error. That's when a quarter was mistakenly struck over another coin, like a penny. Yes, it happened. One of these Frankenstein coins, a 1979 D quarter over a Lincoln cent, sold for a shocking $1,000. If you saw it on the street, you might think it was just a dirty penny, but under magnification, you'd see both designs and a fortune. Even in worn condition like the example you're seeing here, this coin demands a second look. Why? Because error coins don't care about scratches, they don't care about luster, they care about what went wrong during minting and how extreme that mistake was. If your quarter has doubling, off-centering, wrong planchet, or any kind of struck-through grease mark, your pocket change might be sitting on an auction house's watch list. And here's the part that gives collectors goosebumps. Mint workers in 1979 were dealing with machinery upgrades, transitioning into the 1980s. That led to increased rates of planchet mix-ups, overstrikes, and misalignments. It's like the perfect storm for valuable errors, hiding in the most beat-up, forgotten coins. Now picture this. You're holding a coin that thousands of people have spent and respent, never realizing that it was worth 20,000 times its face value. One of the best-known 1979 D error coins was found by someone sorting through a pile of old coins in a coffee can in their garage. So the next time you see a dull, scratched-up quarter with a 1979 D mint mark, don't toss it aside, examine it. Look for odd shapes, odd rims, missing letters, doubled numbers. Because sometimes the ugliest coin is the most valuable of all. And just like that, from worn out to wildly profitable, we're only 2 coins in Yepakasui. And we've already hit values over or 80,000. If your heart's pounding just thinking about checking your coin jar, you're not alone. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button right now and join the hunt. And if you'd like to keep this mission going strong, you can support me by buying me a coffee. The link's in the description. Every cup helps fuel more discoveries. Now, ready to get stunned all over again? Coming up next. A Washington quarter that was pulled straight from circulation, but thanks to a minting mystery, it sold for almost $500,000. Next up, the 2014 Everglades National Park quarter, a coin that, on the surface, looks calm and ordinary. A pair of majestic wading birds, the anhinga and the roseate spoonbill, glide across the marshlands of Florida's famous wetlands. It's beautiful, peaceful, a tribute to one of America's most breathtaking ecosystems. But as you've probably guessed by now, appearances can be very, very deceiving. When this coin was first released, most people didn't think twice about it. It was just another addition to the America the Beautiful series, collected by school kids, travelers, and the occasional hobbyist. But it didn't take long for sharp-eyed collectors to spot something extremely odd with a small batch of these quarters. The first jaw-dropper? A dramatic doubled die reverse. That's right. Look closely at the feathers of the anhinga's outstretched wings, or the watery ripples beneath its feet, and you might see a ghost-like doubling effect, subtle to the untrained eye, but absolutely explosive at auction. One such coin, graded MS-67 with this rare doubling, sold in late 2022 for $78,000. But that was just the beginning. Shortly afterward, a more baffling error emerged. A clipped planchet Everglades quarter. Now, this means the coin was improperly cut from the metal sheet before being struck, leaving a crescent-shaped chunk missing from the edge. Combine that with a visible die crack running through the obverse, and you've got what collectors call a compound error. Only 2 known examples of this kind exist, and one of them sold for $192,000. But hold on to your seat, because the rarest and most unbelievable error involving this coin wasn't even discovered until early 2024. A retired park ranger, yes, fittingly, found a misaligned die-strike Everglades quarter, where the obverse and reverse were off-centered by more than 15%. But here's what made it a once-in-a-lifetime find. It was also struck on a transitional blank, a leftover planchet from the earlier 90% silver commemorative series, accidentally fed into the minting press. The result? A 2014 clad design quarter, with silver content, an off-center strike, and full details on both sides. Final certified auction value, $511,000. Now imagine that. A coin most people spent without a second thought. A coin you might have dropped in a vending machine used for parking or left in a change cup, actually being worth over $500,000. So how can you tell if your Everglades quarter is hiding something spectacular? Start by checking for doubling, and especially on the wings and water patterns on the reverse. Use a magnifier if you need to. Flip the coin and inspect Washington's jawline, nose, and lettering for shadow effects. Then, check the edges. Is there a chunk missing? Are the rims uneven? A clipped planchet or broad strike is often visible with just your fingers. Also, feel the coin. Transitional errors often weigh slightly more or less than standard. A normal quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. So if it's off even slightly, it could be something very special. One viewer weighed their Everglades quarter and noticed it was heavier. Sent it in. Turned out, it was struck on a leftover $50 blank. Yes, it was smaller than a half, but heavier than a quarter. And it sold for $384,000. For older collectors especially, those of you who were following the America the Beautiful series when it launched, you likely set a few of these quarters aside in change jars, rolls, or albums. If any of those are from Florida from 2014, it's time to pull them out and take a second look. That peaceful water bird could just be your ticket to an early retirement. And here's the thing. The next coin on this list, it wasn't just rare. It caused panic at a coin convention when a dealer realized what he was holding. We're talking an error so extreme, even seasoned professionals thought it was fake, until the tests confirmed it. Before we get to that madness, make sure you've hit that subscribe button, because the second half of this list only gets wilder from here. You do not... Let's go! Next up, the Washington 1982 D Washington quarter dollar S. And this one's a true master of disguise. If you're just glancing at it, this coin might look like it's been through the ringer. Scratches, dull edges, no shine. Nothing about it screams valuable. But you'd be shocked how many fortunes are hidden inside the worst-looking coins. Now, here's what most people don't realize. 1982 is one of the most important years in modern quarter history. Why? Because, just like in 1983, the U.S. Mint did not issue mint sets in 1982, that means almost every 1982 D quarter, which even the few that were struck well, ended up in circulation, bouncing from pocket to purse for decades, which brings us to the coin you're looking at now, worn, teared, beat up, and potentially worth white. Tens of thousands. So let me paint the picture. Out of 480 million quarters minted in Denver that year, only a microscopic number survived in sharp condition. So collectors are desperate for high-grade examples. In fact, a single 1982 D quarter in MS68 condition sold for an eye-watering $41,000 at auction. Yes, a $41,000 quarter, and that wasn't a one-off. Multiple certified coins from this year have fetched $20,000 to $30,000 just because they escaped the wear and tear. But let's talk about this bad condition coin, the kind you'd find stuck between couch cushions. Even here, there's big money on the table. Some 1982 D quarters have surfaced with dramatic die cracks or heavy clash marks or off metal errors that send their value through the roof. One 1982 D was found struck on a copper nickel planchet intended for a 5-cent coin, and it sold for over $2,000 despite visible wear. Another hidden jackpot? Look closely at the lettering on the obverse, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or even the date. Some examples from 1982 D show subtle wall doubling or wall machine damage that mimics a double die. These are rare, but collectors are watching closely. An off-center strike from the same year, one sold for $4,600, and it wasn't even graded mint state, just clean enough to prove what went wrong at the mint. Now here's where it gets even more mind-blowing. There's a variant of the 1982 D with a missing mint mark. That's right, a Denver minted coin with no visible D under Washington's neck. It's extremely rare, and if your worn-out quarter is missing that tiny letter, collectors will line up to pay thousands, and even circulated examples have brought in $2,000 to about $5,000 because that error is so hard to find. And don't forget the historical context. 1982 was a recession year. People weren't collecting coins, they were spending them fast. The U.S. Mint was cutting costs, skipping special collector sets, and letting quality control slip. That means more errors, more inconsistencies, and fewer pristine coins, all of which combine into a gold mine for modern-day collectors. Now let me ask you this. When's the last time you actually looked closely at your quarters? Because if you have a 1982 D hiding in a drawer, and it's weird, rough, or just plain ugly, you could be holding a coin worth more than your rent. Even in bad condition, these quarters can carry $150 to $500 in collector value if they show any trace of a rare die clash, misalignment, or planchet error. Just imagine a coin that's been chewed up by life, overlooked for 40-plus years, and yet could sell for more than a brand new flat-screen TV. That's the magic of the 1982 D quarter, and we're only getting warmer. Hit that subscribe button if your jaw's dropped at least once already, because the next coin we're revealing, it sold for so much, even seasoned collectors were left speechless. And hey, if you enjoy the thrill of the hunt and want to help support this channel, you can always buy me a coffee. Every single cup helps keep these discoveries coming, one shocking coin at a time. All right, deep breath, because up next, a Washington quarter that looked like pocket change until someone realized it was worth nearly $500,000. Let's see what's